Good afternoon, everyone. My name is James Schreiber, and welcome to Friday. It is the end of the week, and for a lot of us, it is a 3-day holiday weekend. For those of you who are fortunate enough to have Monday off, enjoy it. And for the rest of us who are unfortunate enough not to have Monday off, enjoy your Saturday and your Sunday, your part of the weekend. Today I wanted to talk about something that really, you know, can get the debate fired up, and that is it about the results or is it about the process? And I utilize my experience sitting in leadership meetings where I have hiring managers who will say, I need people in the seats. We sold a project. Without the people in the seats, I can't fulfill my obligation on the project, and we can't increase revenue. And then on the internal management side, from a talent acquisition, standpoint, a lot of times it's about the process. Well, where there's a process we go through. And it's a debate that sometimes meets head on, like two trains, and causes issues. Because sure, there's a process. There's a process for everything. It doesn't mean the process is right. And a lot of times you get results, but they're not the results that you really want. So how do we reconcile this? How do we get to a point, especially in recruitment and talent acquisition, whether it's being at a staffing company or internal for a company, how do we get to a point where both the business and the talent acquisition team can come to the realization that, you know what, it truly is about the results. It's the results that matter. How do we get there? And I want to use a sports example, and I use a lot of the sports examples. People who know me, have heard me speak, or have met me in person will see that I just really enjoy doing it, because I think it's pure, in a lot of ways, it's pure capitalism, but also it deals with a lot of what we deal with in business all the time. Putting out a game plan, getting the best people to implement that game plan, and then making little course directions along the way, and ultimately trying to get to the results that you were after. And that can be different for each organization or each team. But the one I wanted to talk about was kind of what happened here in Tampa on Wednesday night or Tuesday night of this week. So you have Tampa Rays playing the Houston Astros, and last night Houston won. Congratulations to them, and they move on in the process. And you have the Tampa Rays, who I believe have the lowest payroll in baseball. I think about $60 million, give or take. I think Houston is $100 million plus. Not like the Yankees or Dodgers or Boston, who I think has the highest at over 200 million. But yet the Tampa team consistently wins. They have winning seasons. Last year they won 90 games. This year they won 96, plus their two in the playoffs, so 98 games. So how does that happen? How does a team that, or an organization that has basically a third of the payroll of one of the highest teams in baseball, how do they consistently win? Well, they do that by basically saying they're going to be results oriented. That the goal of every game is to win that game, and that by doing that, they put themselves in a position to win the next step, whether that be in the playoffs or World Series or whatever. And because their real goal is to win the game, they've thrown out all the so-called experts' way of looking at how they put a lineup out there, how they put a pitching staff out there, how they put fielders out there. And their players have bought into it. And a good example was Wednesday night, when instead of having a starter go out, and they have one of the best pitching staffs in baseball right now, and instead of having one of their starters go out and do the starting thing, which is to pitch hopefully 5+ innings and then bring in a couple middle relievers and then a closer, they actually started the game with one of their closers. And the whole goal was to get out of the first inning. That was their results-oriented goal. Get out of the first inning without giving up a run. They brought another pitcher in, get out of the second inning, get out of the third inning. And by doing that, they kept Houston on its toes because they never got to go through more than one bat cycle with a pitcher. But they also were constantly bringing in fresh arms. So Houston was really besieged with people who knew that they were going to be in maybe for a batter, maybe for 3 batters, but probably not more than an inning and a half. And in the end, to close the game out so they could win that game, which was the result they were looking for, and move to the next game, they brought in their 2018 Cy Young Award winner, who is a starter, and he closed the game out. Now, why is this important? Well, it's important because there are times we really need to look at the results. The results are what matter. All the processes are great. All the regulations, and I don't want to say regulations, but rules and things that are put on, especially in recruiting, whether it's internal or external, all the demands that are put on professional recruiters and talent acquisition people sometimes really are more detrimental to getting the job done and getting the results needed than actually helping. You know, one of the things early in my career, I went to a meeting and I had all my books, how many people I touched and how many phone calls I had and this and that, and I felt really good about myself because I had a great week. I mean, I was busy. And our senior VP at the time just asked me who was hired. And I wasn't able to say who was hired, who's going to be hired. And, well, we have this and that, but I reached out. All I care about is who gets hired. All I care about is who's in process to get hired. How you get to that point is irrelevant to me. And it really changed the way I look at our business. Because ultimately, in the end, to a hiring manager, it's about getting people in the seat that can do the job. If you're an external company or a staffing company, it's about utilizing your candidates to drive revenue. So the most important thing then is to get people into process to have an opportunity to get hired, either by the company or by a third party, however you work. That truly is the most important thing. And so I look at it and I said, I think a lot of times recruiters are put in a position where they're being asked to do so many other things. It takes away from their ability to sit and think, which is very important. Who do I want? How do I go about getting them? And once I get them on the phone or engaged in email, how do I keep them moving through the process? How do I keep them moving forward to my ultimate goal? Instead, they're bombarded with reports and lists and all kinds of things that they have to do in order to make a manager happy or in order to make a department head happy. But in the end, truly have nothing to do with the final result, which is either to drive revenue or to fill an open position. And why is that? I think a lot of times it is because there are people that have moved up in recruiting companies that really don't understand recruiting. They're really good at getting reports filled out. They're really good at being able to keep things in order. but they don't understand the basic of true recruiting. What is recruiting? Uh, the other aspect of it is there is a difference between being busy and being productive and being successful, right? I mean, if you make one phone call a day and that phone call leads to a hire, either external or internal, that's probably a lot better than making 30 phone calls a day that just lead to nothing or nothing that you can define. And we need to get our head around that. And I'm going to use another sports analogy. You know, people know who Mariano Rivera is, probably the greatest closer of all time for the New York Yankees. I think he made close to, and I'm throwing a figure out, but I think he made close to 15 million or whatever a year, maybe a little bit more. And he had one job. He was results driven, right? His one job was to simply win the game. He would come in normally as a closer, 2 runs, 1 run lead, 2 run lead, usually in the bottom of the 9th, maybe bottom of the 8th, or in that realm. Sometimes in a situation where 1 or 2 people are on base, but his job was to simply win the game. No one ever said to him, well, you know, Mariano, we're paying you $15 million a year, so we want to get our money's worth out of you. We want you to throw 10 fastballs, 15 curveballs, 3 sliders. Otherwise, you know, how can we justify paying you that kind of money? And when he wasn't in the game, no one called down to the bullpen and said, you know, Mariano, you really only work a very small fraction of the game. So when you're not in the game, we'd really like you to make sure that the bullpen is kind of cleaned up, you know, make sure all the balls are in order, the seats are clean. Of course not. They paid him for one thing, to produce results. Now, he had a lot of things that went into his ability to go out on the mound in the bottom of the 9th with a 1-run lead. His training, his practicing, all that came into play, and his talent. But in the end, it was about results. And so I'd like to challenge hiring managers, recruitment managers, organizations, and ask, are you really challenging your people to produce the results that are needed for the business? Or are you burdening them, putting a burden on them to produce reports and other items that in the end only justify keeping maybe that manager busy, so that manager can then say, well, this is everything my team is doing. I would say go after results. And how you get those results within certain parameters is really irrelevant. You know, Sparky Anderson, another great manager for the Cincinnati Reds and Detroit Tigers, but won a couple World Series, used to say the secret to his success was he went out and hired the best people, put them in a position to be successful, and then got the hell out of their way. And I say to myself, something that Steve Jobs said, a quote Steve Jobs said, which I agree with. Why would I go out and hire the best people and then tell them what to do? Doesn't it make more sense to go out and bring the best people in, the talented people, give them all the tools that they need to be successful, and then tell them to be successful? This is what the results are we're looking for. These are the tools we believe you need to get those results. Now go get them. And if you need our help, let us know. But go do what you need to do. I mean, that is really the way of sports, right? Another analogy, and I'm sure you guys are tired of this, but it's an analogy I like to use all the time, and that is that, you know, in a football game, every football team does the same thing. They practice on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, walkthrough, Friday, travel day, blah, 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 blah. And they're all pros, right? The talent of football teams is just amazing. The difference is The difference is when people of extraordinary talent step up, become playmakers, make something happen. You can't script a quarterback running around like Russell Wilson and then making a 30-yard play. You can't script a defensive back cutting in front of a wide receiver and making an interception. You can't script it. What you can do is you can practice the fundamentals, but then you say to the people, give us the results. Go out there and do what you need to do to get the results. And if you watch a lot of sports, you'll see that the good teams are the teams where their players step up. They don't just follow procedure, they step up and they make a difference. And so what I'm saying is, sometimes, maybe especially in talent acquisition, we should look at how we do and what we're doing and say, is it too process oriented, or would it just be better to say to our team, we believe in you, here are the tools that you need, and now here are the results that we want. Now go get them. Just a thought. Love to hear what you think about it. You can visit my website at www.grtas.net. That's gratis.net. Send me a message. Subscribe to this channel. We're on We're on iTunes and iHeartRadio, among other places. We also have the YouTube channel, which has really become quite successful. Subscribe. Send us your thoughts on this. Is process more important than results, or are results ultimately really what matters? So, thanks again, everyone, and I wish you all a very happy and pleasant holiday weekend, and enjoy. And until we talk again, remember, take time to think. And then once you think, take time to act. Take care now. Bye.